All right, hey, Brett here. Welcome back. In this video, we're going to talk about how you process what you saw in the video of Charlie Kirk being assassinated. Okay, especially the close-up one, where you see the impact, you see him falling out of his chair. In my opinion, and maybe I'm wrong, but when I saw it, I thought maybe he was dead even when he hit the ground. Okay. And the reason why I say that is because how do you process that? If that's the case, I mean, that could have been the case. How do you process what was in that video? And I think a lot of people are struggling to do that. I know I have really been working through that. So, number one, let's get into this. What happens if you don't process it in a healthy way? So, Jordan Peterson talks a lot about this. And he talks about when people come back from war, they have post-traumatic stress disorder. Well, why? Because they experience something in reality that they don't have a file in their mind for. The map, and he has a book on this called Maps of Meaning. They don't have a map in their mind that can account for all of the things that exist in reality. And so what happens is, let's say they grew up, they have a middle class, upbringing in the Midwest, and the doors are unlocked. They kind of know their neighbors. There's some bullies. They had some rough times. And then they go to war and they see people who love killing them and murdering their friends. Well, that breaks your mind. It is a stress disorder that comes post or after trauma. And the trauma is the thing that is completely overwhelming that they don't know how to process because they've never had any experience like it. Okay, so that's you. That's me right now. We have just experienced something that is unspeakable, that is evil. And if you're struggling to process that, then that's what we're talking about. If we don't process that in a healthy way, we're going to be experiencing, let's say, maybe paralysis almost. And the reason why I say that is most disorders, at least in the DSM-5, come from the inability to function in daily life. And that can be, there's a spectrum. I'm not saying like you can't do anything, but something's off. Okay. And I know we're all feeling that. Something's off. And then in addition to that, if we're processing it in a negative way, we're going to be having bitterness, anger, rage, resentment. And I think that a lot of people are feeling those emotions. Now, I will say this. I don't think it's wrong to feel angry, but there are two types of anger, at least biblically. You have a righteous anger. You saw evil, you can name evil for what it is, and you can be angry about what you saw as evil. And then what does God say? God says, justice is mine, right? Vengeance is God's. He is the one that does the punishing, not us. And so I can go and I can take the next act in love like Christ did, and I'll leave all of the disciplining and punishment and wrath and all that stuff. I'll leave that to God and I'm going to trust him with that. That's a healthy anger. An unhealthy anger is the bitterness and the resent and the hate and all of those things. You don't want to be that person. You don't need to be that person. Okay, so those are the types of things that you'll maybe be experiencing if you're not processing this in a healthy way. Maybe even just inaction, just paralysis, and you can just feel like there's something that's not fitting in. Something is now askew in my life after watching that video. Okay, so that's what happens if we don't process in a healthy way. So let's move on. How do you process it in a healthy way? I talked to a therapist a long time ago for, stuff that I've been through. And what he told me, interestingly, builds on really nicely. He told me that he has vets come to him and they have PTSD. And it's, well, how do I get rid of my PTSD? How do I make it like it was before? And of course, the answer is you can't. You cannot unsee the things that you saw that were evil. You cannot make your experiences disappear. Those are a part of you now. And so you have two options. You can become the type of person that can carry the weight you've been given and make it look light. So you can get stronger, or you cannot do that. And you can just be crushed by the weight of it. Now, obviously, as a believer, where I am weak, God is strong, and he can provide the strength, which makes that easier to bear up under. Okay, but we either bear up underneath the new load we've been given, or we get crushed. That's what it is. So how do we do that? How do we bear up underneath it? Well, The first thing that you have to do is you have to accept reality for what it is. You've seen a thing that you don't know how to process, and you have to call it what it is. It's an evil thing. That should never happen, and yet it exists. And those things do happen. And maybe even here in the United States, we've been sheltered from those things. That's an everyday occurrence in other parts of the world, political assassinations and all this other stuff. So we have to call it for what it is and accept that it exists. We have to make the file in our mind for a thing called evil, and we have to be able to call it that. If we can't do that, then we're delusional. Of course it exists. You just watched it. And we have to make peace with the fact, this is step two, you got to make peace with the fact that that exists. Now, if you've been told that people are good, if you've gone to college and you've heard the whole humanism thing, right? People are basically good. People are not basically good. That is okay. So I'm coming from a Christian worldview. People are basically fallen. What does that mean? Are there good elements of people? Yes, we're created in the image of God. There's a lot of beautiful things about people and a lot of good things. Also, we're fallen and people can do all kinds of terrible evil. That exists in my world because it exists in the real world. But if you believe that the world is a good place and you believe just a good place and you believe that people are only good and that, the outflows of that are what we can make some kind of a utopia, that is a delusion. It does not exist. You live in a fallen world where evil happens and more evil will happen. And we're either going to be people who can accept and respond to that, or we're going to be weak. So we have to address reality for what it is and make peace with it for what it is. And I do think, especially if you haven't ever really come to the realization that reality has evil in it, there's a grief there. Because let's say in the Bible, it says it's supposed to be perfect. When God created Adam and Eve, he created it righteous. He created it perfect. And he said, don't do any of that bad stuff. Don't eat off the tree. Well, they did. And we invited all of this stuff into the world. But it's supposed to be perfect. Well, I want it to be that way, and it's not. And so there is a level of grief that comes with that. And the Bible speaks about that. Creation groans to see the children of God revealed. Creation is under a curse. And it shouldn't be this way. And you know it, and I know it. And that's one reason it's hard. Well, the great news is that even though it was intended to be that way and it has fallen, God is going to come back. He's going to redeem it. And we get to have that in heaven, but it's not going to be here. And I'm talking about the file in your mind. The worldview from Christianity accounts for this. Are the things that I saw appalling and horrendous? Yes. Am I shocked? No, I'm not shocked. We're going to create the file in our mind. We're going to say, this exists for a time period. I get to go and live in peace, like Charlie is now at peace with the Lord in heaven. And I get to have that one day, but right now it's time to address reality, it's time to do something. Okay. And then what do you do? If you want to have peace with yourself, you have to take action. You have to do something. You cannot see what you saw and then do nothing. Your conscience will eat you alive. Now, I'm not saying you've got to go start a new movement, but you could talk to somebody. You could encourage somebody. Like here I am putting up a video. Maybe this helps, a couple people process what was there. You got to do something. And what is that thing that you should do? Because it's different for everybody. Well, when I look at the life of Christ, I don't see a weak person doing the easiest thing in every situation. No, he was facing down death every day. He did the next hardest thing that he was called to do until he died. And it seems to me like Charlie did that as well. So what do you do? Well, all you have to do is find a quiet moment and just think about the thing that you don't want to do. And that's probably the thing that you should do. And that is how you become the person that is strong because you do the hardest thing. And that doesn't mean the hardest thing for the bodybuilder who can lift 9 million pounds. No. The hardest thing for you. If that's telling someone you forgive them, then that's what you do. If it's reaching out to someone, if it's, making a YouTube video, like whatever it is, go do the thing that's the hardest thing for you and just take the step. All right, so that's what I've got for you in this video. Let me know in the comments what you would like. Like, share, subscribe. Tell me what you want me to talk about. I'll talk about anything you guys want. I just want to serve you and be here for you guys. God bless.